Samavetaha.
Assembled.
Yuyutsavaha.
Desiring to fight.
Mamakaha.
My party, sons.
Pandavaha.
The son of Pandu.
Cha.
And
Eva.
certainly.
Kim.
What?
Akurvata.
Did they do?
Sanjaya.
Oh, Sanjay.
So now I would request Arsh Agarwal. Arsh, you can please read the translation. Arsh, you can please read the translation.
Okay, bro. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight?
Very good. So let us proceed now and understand. So this is the translation. When you read Prabhupada's translation or purport, so we'll thank Prabhupada, we'll glorify Prabhupada. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhacharna Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So now this is the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, and this first verse, whenever you read any verse, you should, the context is very important. Now here the mindset of Dhritarashtra is revealed. Now for example, until unless a person speaks, no one comes to know how wise that person is. No one comes to know, what his intentions is. No one comes to know whether the person is foolish, whether the person is wise. It is when he speaks. It is when he speaks that we come to know that whether the person is a wise person, a knowledgeable person, or a foolish person, or whether the person is a criminal, or what is actually his mindset. Now here in the purport, now we will come to know the mindset of Dhritarashtra. So I would request Yasha to read the first, until the point I have highlighted in blue. You can please read it out.
Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord.
Excellent. So now, here, Swami Prabhupada is translating. He is actually in the purport, he is giving this understanding to us that we should understand Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with a person who's a devotee of Sri Krishna. So now my question is to all of you, all three of you, who is a devotee of Krishna? What are the qualities of a devotee of Krishna?
A Vaishnava is a devotee of Krishna.
Very good. Very nice. And any other answer? What do you think, Arsh and Yashish?
A person who is fully surrendered.
A person who is fully surrendered. Okay, very good. A person who is, yes, a person who is really surrendered. Yes. Now, Yashish, any answers? You want to add something to your friends, what they have said?
Probably someone who feels attached to Krishna.
Yes, who's attached to Krishna. Now, essentially, everyone, please note this difference. A devotee, in the last introduction class, we have discussed devotee of the Lord can relate with the Lord in 5 different relationships. He can be in a passive relationship, it can be an active relationship. He could be a friend, he could be a father, mother, or in a parent, in a paternal relationship, in a familial relationship, or a devotee can also be in the form of a conjugal lover like the gopis. Now, devotee, when we have discussed about these 5 stages of devotees, now, did you ever come across any of these devotees was envious of Krishna? Did you ever see that Hanumanji is envious of Krishna? Or did you see anywhere, anytime Radharani is envious of Krishna? Or did you find any instance you find that Mother Yashoda is envious of Krishna?
No.
Yes. So the first essential quality of a devotee is that he is non-envious of Krishna. He will not be envious of Krishna. And essentially a devotee will not be a impersonalist. A devotee would be a personalist. When I say personalist, he would accept that Lord Krishna is a personality. But there is a group of people who are called as Mayavadis, and they say that God has no form, okay? God has no legs, God has no eyes, God has no nose, God has no hairs. So if I were to say Ayush is bald headed, if I were to say Ayush has no hands, Ayush has no legs, it is so offensive, no? And it is not real. Ayush has, very nice hands, very nice, legs. So if someone tells to me, Suchandra has no legs, Suchandra has no eyes, Suchandra has no ears, so how will I feel? Ayush, how will you feel if someone tells you like that? Arsh.
I'll not feel good, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So there are group of people, they are called as impersonalists. They're also known as Mayavadis. They say God has no hands, God has no legs, God has no nose, God has no ears, God has no hairs. So this is their understanding. So they are called as Mayavadi, Krishna Aparadhi. So those people who are envious of Krishna, who want to finish Krishna, who want to present Krishna as a formless entity, they are all Mayavadis. So Prabhupada is the first line of Bhagavad Gita, in fact, the first few lines of Bhagavad Gita, we are clearly able to understand that Bhagavad Gita has to be understood under the direction of devotees. So anywhere, anytime, if someone, wherever you find a translation of Bhagavad Gita, and if that person is not a devotee, he may be a very popular person, he may be a very big political leader, you should not read that Bhagavad Gita translation. Why? Because that is only a blasphemy of the Lord. And anyone who blasphemes the Lord, who says ill of the Lord, they are all envious creatures, they're all envious people. And we also cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, or we cannot understand the Lord if we associate with such kind of people. So Bhagavad Gita is widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee, who is a devotee of Sri Krishna, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. Now, we also are hearing from Lord Krishna directly. So, Lord Krishna's words are eternal. We we are not, we are we are limited by space and time, and our words may not have any value. But the Lord, the Supreme Lord, he is blessed by his Guru, Sandipan Muni, that his teachings will be ever fresh and ever applicable to any kind of civilization. So All his instructions are always ever fresh, and anyone who reads Bhagavad Gita, like the shlokas that we have read, whenever we are reading the words of Krishna, like Shri Bhagavan Vacha. So in this, whenever you will find a shloka in Bhagavad Gita and it starts with Shri Bhagavan Vacha, and you're reading that verse, you know that you're directly hearing from Krishna, because Krishna is in the sound incarnation. And Krishna, when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Lord Krishna is personally present in that sound form. Now, I would request Mayank Mishra to please read the blue part, which is highlighted over here. So please read this blue part.
Yes, Prabhuji. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in that line of discipline succession, without motive interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of world. One will find in Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is specifically a standard of Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna.
Excellent. So anyone who reads Bhagavad Gita, he can easily come to the conclusion who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So we are all, very blessed. Why we all are blessed? Like I'm saying, Yashas is blessed, Arsh is blessed, and Mayank is blessed, and Suchandra Gaurdasa is blessed. Why we are all blessed? Because we are reading the Bhagavad Gita in the disciplic succession, which is starting from Lord Krishna himself. So you all have Bhagavad Gita. Now, the assignment for this week will be, if you don't have exams, the assignment for all of you in your exam is that in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the introduction, just after the introduction and before the beginning of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there is the disciplic succession which starts with Lord Krishna himself, and it is shown up to Srila Prabhupada in the 32nd number. So my request will be, all of you please write down all name of all the personalities starting from Lord Krishna until Srila Prabhupada, and give them and write in a manner, in the form of arrows. Like you start the arrow from Lord Krishna, then you have a flow chart. Similarly, you can make a flow chart. In that flow chart, you can make all the disciplic succession. So so this will be your task. Maybe if you don't have exams, you can please do that, and you can share the picture. You can make it as colorful as possible, and you can share the picture once you're done. You have 1 week's time, so whenever it's possible, you can please do that. So if someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in the line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all the studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. Now, one who reads Bhagavad Gita, meaning of reading Bhagavad Gita is this: not just literally reading it. It means that you apply the principles of Bhagavad Gita. When you apply the principles of Bhagavad Gita, your knowledge will surpass, and you will also find the knowledge which is not found in other scriptures. Say, for example, if you read Bhagavad Gita, you'll come to know about the world geography also. Why? Because here and there you will find also relevances about which city was Kandahar. The current city of Kandahar is nothing but this Afghanistan. There is this Kandahar city, the old city. They are named in different ways. So now in Bhagavad Gita, you'll also find about Malaysia's reference. You'll also find in different cities reference, but they are named differently. And Prabhupada has explained us very nicely in all of his Bhagavad Gita lectures. Like many a times I used to think, that Caspian Sea, how does this word Caspian Sea come? So Prabhupada, in one of the Bhagavad Gita lectures, he explains that this word Caspian Sea is, it has originated from Kashyap Muni. So please, this is something which we all have to understand. And in various different scriptures, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, the entire world history is, and the entire world history and the geography of the whole world, the ancient history of the world is very nicely depicted. So if one reads Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita has all the information about mind control. Bhagavad Gita has all information about time management. Bhagavad Gita has all the information about good lifestyle habits. For example, Bhagavad Gita talks about what to eat, what not to eat, how much a person should sleep. Even that is specified in Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, when Prabhupada is saying, one will find in Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of Gita. It is the perfect theistic science. It is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So, Lord Krishna, he is the father of all living entities, and he very mercifully, he explains in that in the Bhagavad Gita itself, that sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnana apohanam cha. So Lord is seated in everyone's heart, and not only that, Lord also sees that aham bija pratpita. Meaning of that is that I am the seed giving father. So Bhagavad Gita establishes the relationship between all the living entities and Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, as described in Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet, guidance of mankind. The word Now, the word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battle of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. See, anywhere Lord Krishna is present and Lord Krishna is worshipped and Lord Krishna is followed totally, that place becomes Dharma Kshetra. So, for that matter, if at your house you follow Krishna, you chant the glorification of Krishna, you worship Krishna, your house will become a Dharma Kshetra. It will be a small temple, a place where the whole family prays together. That place will be a temple, that will become a Dharma Kshetra. So the word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious principles are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, why did my sons and the sons, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? So this is a very peculiar question. When you go to examination hall, what will you do? You'll write exam, no? But he is asking, what did my sons and sons of Pandu do? So he was confident that both his sons and the sons of younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. So, because the battlefield was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. So basically, his question, what is Dhritarashtra's question? Dhritarashtra's actual question is that, how are my sons? This is actually Dhritarashtra's question, because see, Dhritarashtra is a diplomat. He is fearful but he does not want to, express his fear, because he knows his sons are all, they are all wicked people, because they, the way they insulted a chaste woman like Mother Draupadi, they, it is very clear they're all wicked. And on that day itself, they're all their life, their lifespan actually was started to diminish even more at a vigorous pace. So, so primarily, this is what a what happens whenever you disrespect a sati. What is the meaning of sati? Sati means a chaste woman. So whenever a chaste woman is disrespected, it is very, very detrimental, very, very harmful for the entire society. Okay. So the day Mother Draupadi was disrespected, they all welcomed death. All these Kurus, all Duryodhana, Dushasana, the day they disrespected Mother Draupadi, they all came very close to death. So now here again, when we read this passage, we also come to know the mindset of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to become the rulers of the dynasty, and he did not want any kind of compromise. Now here, what is the nature of Dhritarashtra? Is Dhritarashtra envious of Pandavas? My question is to all three of you. Is Dhritarashtra envious of the Pandavas?
Yes.
No, Prabhu.
Yes. Okay, why do you say he's not envious of Pandavas?
Because he has not such, like, he is not very, has a bad feeling for Pandavas, but yeah, he is a little.
See, I'll just tell you what Dhritarashtra has done in his past life. You should know a little bit of history of Mahabharata. Bhima was actually poisoned by Duryodhana. Okay. Mother Draupadi was being disrobed. A woman forcefully, they are trying to make her naked in an assembly of men. And Dhritarashtra had conspired to burn Mother Kunti and all the Pandavas in a house of wax called as Laksha Graha. So they had made a wax house, and they had asked all the Pandavas to stay there, and in the night they set fire to the house of wax. But because of the warning of their uncle Vidura, they were all saved. So you should know that what kind of person Dhritarashtra is. So essentially, Dhritarashtra is envious person. You poison someone, you try to burn someone alive, you try to disrespect. And when a woman is being disrespected, you do not even protest that, then that is, you're becoming envious. And who is Mother Draupadi? She is the wife of Pandavas. So if you are inimical about someone, only then you will remain calm in all these situations, or you will conspire. So because of all these instances, I logically infer that Dhritarashtra was essentially envious of the Pandavas, who are all devotees of Lord Krishna. Anyone who is envious of Lord Krishna or envious of devotees of Lord Krishna, they cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, they cannot make progress in spiritual life. So please keep this in mind. Never be envious of any devotee. So let us proceed further. So now actually we can make out, and Prabhupada has explained over here, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place, of the outcome of the battle of the Kurukshetra, and therefore he is asking Sanjaya what did my sons and sons of Pandu do? He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to envision the battle of field of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. See, there are many wonderful things, there are many wonderful mechanisms, there are many wonderful phenomena which are known to our ancestors and not known to us. It is by the mercy of the Lord can even build a stone, which a stone bridge on Indian Ocean, and the stone bridge which will float on water. This is possible only for the Lord or for a devotee of the Lord, for an empowered devotee of the Lord. And Vedavyasa Ji is a literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas is the full name of Lord, is the full name of Vedavyas Ji. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Pandava belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family of heritage, from the family heritage. One gets done, one can sorry, one can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu, as in the paddy field, sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out. So it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana, and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, apart from their historical and Vedic importance. So we have we have read this part. We have read this. Now, by reading this verse, we have many knowledges, many inferences we can derive. We can understand that if you want to know Bhagavad Gita, I'll just try to recap whatever we have understood today. If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should never be envious of Lord Krishna, or we should never be envious of Lord Krishna's devotees. Second point is that in Bhagavad Gita, we will find all the information which is present in other scriptures, and the information which is not present in other scriptures, even that information is present in the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita is a theistic science. And if you want to know Bhagavad Gita, you should know under the guidance of a devotee like Swami Prabhupada. We are all reading Bhagavad Gita, but we are reading under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So now we will end now. And before we end, I would request all of you to bring your chanting bags. Please take your chanting bags and let us start the chanting. In 1 minute, the class will, this link will get over and we will all get disconnected. But I would request you to please continue chanting. Please finish one round and then you can proceed with your regular activities. Okay. So now everyone has got the malas?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Excellent. Yashas and Arsh.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. So let us start. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. On the count of three, we'll all start together. So 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,